The following comments were pulled from the Easy Allies Patreon page among our $10 and above patrons. They represent what our community wanted out of E3 2017. Sony, The Last of Us Part 2 kicks off Sony's E3 conference with a 10-minute gameplay trailer. Sucker Punch's new IP ends the show. God of War is shown with 40 kills minimum and a March release date. 5 shadow drops at Sony. Shenmue gets a 3-minute trailer and extended gameplay at the post-show. Also, pre-E3 Shenmue Collection is announced. Bethesda, Evil Within 2 kicks off Bethesda's E3 show. EA, Amy Hennig game ends EA conference with a CG trailer. Need for Speed Underground 3. Nintendo, Virtual Console gets a September release date. Metroid starts off Nintendo. Mario Odyssey ends the show. Microsoft, Scorpio reveal kicks off the show, then Crackdown 3 running on Scorpio. Cuphead is shown again and shadow dropped. Gwent is also shadow dropped. Sea of Thieves, August date, and State of Decay gets an October date. Ubisoft, Prince of Persia teaser, Assassin's Creed Egypt surprises everyone. UbiArt game gets a 2017 release date. Safe prediction, EA will show people at desks working on Star Wars games. Longshot prediction, EA will reveal a Smash Bros. Inspired Star Wars fighting game. High hopes prediction, Kingdom Hearts 3 gets a release date, November 2017. Yakuza 6 revealed for Q2 2018 in the States. Devil May Cry 5 teased, no gameplay, late 2018 release. Shenmue 3 trailer with gameplay and a late 2018 release. Last of Us 2, 4-minute gameplay showcase. Monster Hunter 5 on PS4 teased, no date, no gameplay. Microsoft reveals Scorpio's true cringeworthy name Xbox Squared. The night ends with one final shot of the moon as the camera pans out and sees T-Sol Bond trying to open a safe, ending in T-Sol Bond Adventures, which is promptly rearranged by servbots to say Mega Man Legends 3. Mic drop. My big E3 2017 predictions. A new Metroid game on the Switch. Not only that, but it'll make use of the HD Rumble feature in a big way. There will be a Bethesda conference that shows us clips of a new single-player Elder Scrolls game with a release date. Microsoft announces a new IP in the beginning of their conference and cancels it before the end. Before I finally got the Switch a few weeks ago, I was clearing out the backlog a little and finished XCOM 2. That game is not snoozing. For my first 20 or 30 hours with it, I was constantly save scumming because of some of the changes that they incorporated wrecked the strategies I used with the first XCOM, and it took a while for me to figure out and adapt. Also, taking out a bunch of low-ranked squaddies who miss all their shots didn't help. Now that I has Switch, I've been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, Spectre Knight, Snipper Clips, and Has-Been Heroes. I only got Has-Been Heroes because it came bundled with my Switch. I was pleasantly surprised and have found the game to be a good little time waster when I have 5 or 10 minutes in between work, dinner, and putting the kids to sleep. I played a little bit of Snipper Clips with my wife and had great fun yelling, "Pivot! Pivot! Pivot!" while figuring out the puzzles. I also tried out a Space Sim 4X game that came out a while ago, Stellaris. I've been enjoying my time with it. I wanted to try the game in Iron Man mode because I felt ashamed of my scumminess with XCOM 2. Now I'm fairly certain that I will get 40 hours into the run and just lose. At least I'll watch my galactic empire fall to ruin with honor. Started watching Steins Gate when I saw it was being reviewed on Easy Anime. I have not finished it yet, but it's been really wacky, confusing, and enjoyable so far. Sony will dedicate more than half of its presentation to Rockstar via Red Dead and another yet-to-be-announced title. Nintendo will overhaul the Switch's shop and introduce Virtual Console, which will include Dreamcast and GameCube games. Virtua Fighter 6 will be announced, my E3 of Dreams prediction. I have one prediction, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but with Xbox Scorpio on the horizon, I'm anticipating a Halo 6 announcement at the end of Microsoft's E3 press conference. In addition, it'll debut either on the launch of the Scorpio, or at least by the end of 2017. For Scorpio to be a success, Microsoft has to bring some quality exclusives to rival Sony's fantastic library. And what better way to accomplish that than with a mainline Halo game? After the success of the orchestra last year, Sony's going to double down on the concert theme. Lights go down, and the robotic signature voice says, PlayStation, before it just goes into hardcore punk music. On the Easy A stream, Huber just says, setting the tone? As everyone looks bewildered during the sizzle reel, and Sean Layden just strolls onto the stage with a pink mohawk for some reason, a torn Jumping Flash white beater, before yelling, "Hell yes!" Red Dead 2, Destiny 2, Death Stranding, and all these great games come out punctuated by a live band slamming the guitars before the final reveal. Everyone is waiting as finally on the screen comes Lost Planet VR for some reason. The punk theme was never acknowledged, and there was never a payoff to anything relevant. It goes down as the greatest conference of all time, but no one can say why. Here are my E3 predictions, bets, wants, and what have you. Microsoft Safe Bet, Halo 6 revealed. Crazy Bet, Crackdown 3 available now. What I want from Microsoft, Below and Cuphead release dates. EA Safe Bet, Visceral Star Wars gameplay shown. Crazy Bet, EA learned from Sony and puts on a streamlined conference. What I want from EA, let me fully customize a clone Stormtrooper in a Star Wars game. Bethesda Safe Bet, new IP revealed. Crazy Bet, and what I want, the Elder Scrolls 6 teaser trailer. Nintendo Safe Bet, a Metroid game shown in some form, good or bad. Crazy Bet, Wario World. What I want, news on the Virtual Console. Ubisoft Safe Bet and what I want, Assassin's Creed reveal, and it looks great. Crazy Bet, Beyond Good and Evil 2 gameplay shown. Sony Safe Bet, they're gonna blow us away with their conference. Crazy Bet, an X-Men cameo in Spider-Man for PS4. What I want, Dark Cloud 3 announced. I think this will happen next E3 though. With all the conferences out of the way, I have 2 more safe bets, crazy bets, and 2 out there wild dreams. Safe bets, Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay reveal, Kingdom Hearts 3 release window. Crazy bets, From Software brings back Armored Core, Rocksteady teases Batman Beyond game, and lastly my E3 dreams, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 or Remastered Collection revealed. Capcom brings back Mega Man in a big way. I look forward to E3, may all our dreams come true. Sorry I haven't commented lately. I went to LA for a concert with a very large group of friends. It was pretty amazing, and then I paraglided into a game called The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild and didn't come out until it was over. And then immediately after that, my heart was stolen by Persona 5. 2 heavy competitors for Game of the Year. And now I'm gonna cool off with Injustice 2 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe before diving into Nier and Horizon. Time for bets. Nintendo, new Metroid, 3 mobile games announced. Sony, Days Gone is now a The Last of Us spin-off. Days Gone has changed into something else at least. Microsoft, Scorpio is named Xbox One Elite, XOE. Jokes about it being Zooey Deschanel will rock the internet. Also Battletoads, a game that won't fully take advantage of the Scorpio. Ubisoft, new Rayman. Everything else is pretty much confirmed already. Square Enix, new Tomb Raider. Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy VII Remake have a date. Capcom, new Mega Man, new Darkstalkers, dreams can come true. EA shows its production of a new Star Wars game hasn't learned any lessons from previous E3s. That's all I got. Lock in my 2 2017 E3 predictions. Microsoft will announce their new Xbox theme park simulator where you can use your avatars to adventure through. Microsoft will also add original Xbox games to their Play Anywhere service. Anything new from God of War, and The Evil Within 2 teaser. I'm most excited to learn more of Sea of Thieves and Red Dead Redemption 2, especially the online multiplayer. I've been craving new multiplayer game worlds to jump into with friends. I just moved to Los Angeles, and this will be my first year attending E3. That already makes it the E3 of dreams for me, but if I could get one more thing, it would be Devil May Cry 5. Final Fantasy XVI will be announced. It's time we finally move on from Noctis. We know by now that E3 is the stuff of dreams. Sometimes they turn into a dream come true, or sometimes a nightmare. But even though we know we are dreaming, it's still fun to marvel at the spectacle of E3. That's why the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer brought me to tears of joy, just for the hope of something I've always wished they would try. If we can see another amazing trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake, or the Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think I'll be set on hype for the rest of the year. E3, Christmas for Geeks, the Messiah of Hype, the bringer of dreams. But this year I'm trying to go in without any big predictions or dream announcements in mind, just to not get disappointed. I mean, as a primary PlayStation gamer, there's no way Sony can beat their recent conferences, right? They've recently given us reveals of The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, Shenmue 2, and The Last Guardian. They even had a live orchestra for Christ's sake. There's no way they can beat that. So with that said, all I want is some glorious Spidey gameplay. And knack. More knack, please. With the recent success of Persona 5, I became more interested in past games of the series. I'd recently purchased a Vita and decided to buy Persona 4 Dancing All Night. What was supposed to be a side game that I played on my breaks at work became an obsession. I just can't cure this disco fever. With that said, my dream for E3 2017 is the announcement of Persona 5 Dancing All Night 2 Electric Boogaloo. Only on Vita, of course. Alright, you guys convinced me. I took a chance on Persona 5, knowing nothing other than that you guys were all hyped. I'm not super far into the game yet, but I'm thinking this will become an all-time favorite. I wasn't sure at first. Turn-based combat isn't always my thing, and I almost never like it when a game puts me under time constraints. But there was so much that I liked that I decided to stick with it. Now, I've not only gotten used to the way the game works, I absolutely love everything about it. I look forward to coming home and playing it while I'm at work, which is a feeling I don't think I've ever experienced before. Thanks for the rec, fellas. After years of disinterest in the series, I finally took the plunge with Persona 5. Thanks to the allies and this community, I've been inspired to broaden my gaming horizons, and I'm glad I did. I've never encountered anything quite like Persona. Very interesting. I thought I could do it, I really did. So many great games just in the beginning of this year, and long ones too. I Platinum Horizon, awesome. Then finished a normal playthrough of Persona 5, loved it. After 120 hours of Persona and almost hard quitting 4 times at the end, what epic game of 2017 will I tackle next? Pikmin. Pikmin 1 on the GameCube. Some relaxing Pikmin. As unlikely as it is, I'm gonna put this out into the ether. Skies of Arcadia 2. My favorite JRPG of all time never got the love it deserved for its charming cast, colorful characters, incredible sense of discovery, base building, and awe-inspiring airship battles. The Jules Verne-inspired fantasy world has oodles of untapped potential left in it. Somehow, make this happen like Shenmue 3. Someone, anyone. Oh, and Fatal Frame 6 for the Switch. But primarily Arcadia. Moonstone Cannon? Fire. All I want out of E3 this year is a Jak and Daxter revival of some sort. Would truly be a wonderful addition to this already amazing year of games. Voodoo Vince will reveal himself. Salutations from the Yakuza docks. E3 Dreams? 2 words. Max Payne. I'm hoping for a new release date for Fractured But Whole. Other than that, I'm looking forward to being surprised. I was shocked to hear the atmosphere surrounding a Splinter Cell comeback from the recent EZA Q&A. I love Splinter Cell, and I think Double Agent and Chaos Theory are 2 of the best takes on the tactical stealth genre. I don't believe that it needs a Mario crossover, even though it would be hilarious. So E3 2017, Ubisoft press conference. The lights go dim, like an EMP was utilized. 3 green dots appear in a triangular shape. Mikhail Persbrandt rappels down in an explosive fashion and says, "Lambert is alive," then leaves. The official announcement trailer is shown, and it is a compilation of Sam Fisher smashing heads into toilet sinks. That is my E3 dream. I have never played a Pokemon handheld game, and honestly, I don't plan to, but if Pokemon Stars is announced for the Switch, I'll hop on board. My dream announcement is a new Zone of the Enders game. Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing, Animal Crossing. Nintendo, I need it. Pie in the Sky, a full remake of Xenogears with a full realization of content from the second disc for a complete adventure that the game so rightfully deserves. What I'm actually hoping for? Nintendo keeps the train going strong with the Switch. No one believes that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is coming out this year, but I want to believe, and I'm ready to explore that massive world. It will not happen, but my far-fetched E3 dream is that Rockstar will announce that to finish off the final GTA 5 online updates, they will at last release the story DLCs for GTA 5, with the final online updates revolving around the DLC additions. It still bugs me that they recorded motion capture and dialogue for these expansions, but abandoned all that work to add more crazy, albeit fun, modes for online. With Red Dead Redemption 2 on the horizon, the clock is ticking for the world to ever see what Rockstar had planned for their massively successful game. With all of the year's biggest games, for me, out of the way, I've taken the time to get back to something I used to love. Heroes of the Storm recently came out with a new update which added a much-needed progression system for people like me who needed something to chase after, and I couldn't be happier. I've even been playing with a few members of the EZA community on a semi-regular basis, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Blizzard, for the update, and thank you, EZA, for the community. Neo, Yakuza 0, Zelda Breath of the Wild, Dark Souls 3, Prey. All games I own, all games I haven't finished. Things aren't looking any better in terms of the backlog with E3 coming up too. I need that RE2 remake announcement. When I come home from work, with all of these Time Titans to choose from, what do I end up actually playing? Devil Daggers. It's been out for a while now and is currently $5 on Steam. It's all simply a matter of lasting as long as possible with hordes of demonic enemies coming at you. I enjoy the fact that the enemies aren't randomly spawned, but a true sign of progression and getting better as you see harder and harder enemies to fight. It's such a simple game, and one that I can do a few runs of and let off some steam with, as opposed to all of the huge games I've yet to beat, which offer a ton of hours of entertainment. I don't know how many others are in a place like me, where you think about all of the awesome games that have come out, but after a long hard day of work, just can't muster the mental energy to immerse yourself in these worlds, and want just a quick and simple gaming fix before getting ready for the next day. I love all of these games, but in terms of what has actually been taking up my time, Devil Daggers has been hitting the spot. Best time is 235 seconds. What's yours? I found it slightly amusing hearing Damiani's experience with Final Fantasy X, as his story is similar to mine. I played hundreds of hours when the game was first released, then picked it up again when the HD release happened, but I only made it slightly past Luca. And now I've recently randomly gotten back into it and I'm giving it a proper playthrough. One easy critique is the voice work. It's a little sad that I was so amazed at a section where the voices matched up with the character models, but besides this, and a few other small things, I think it holds up pretty well. Final Fantasy X and chunks of time on the Switch have taken up most of my gaming while waiting for E3 to arrive. I won't be able to take a vacation like I did last year, but I'm still looking forward to it and will certainly keep the allies nearby. My lofty Shenmue 3 Last Guardian-sized prediction? The Order, 1887. Huber is still right. Yakuza 0 is amazing. After 190 hours I reached 100% complete. Still climax battles and legend difficulty playthrough to get the platinum. I have no predictions for E3. I love the whole package, every conference, even if it is bad. The reason for this is easy allies. I get to watch with a group of people that are very entertaining, from discussions and betting specials before it starts, to the final sit-down discussions when the dust is settled. Every bit of it is enjoyable. E3 last year was when I fell in love with EZA and stopped watching from the sidelines. The community as a whole is amazing. E3 this year is going to be nuts. If Mario Odyssey is there in a big way, it's going to steal the show. If it isn't, Nintendo is crazy. But then again, Nintendo. Last year's greatest moments were the unexpected bits, and I'm always excited about new things we didn't even know we wanted. As far as games I know are coming go, beyond Mario, I'd be most excited about more info on Red Dead, and also more info on Ace Combat 7. PSVR has kind of sputtered out for me personally, but Ace Combat is the reason I bought it in the first place, so I'm hoping to see more soon. As far as games I'm playing go, I finally finished Horizon Zero Dawn. My experience was mixed. I didn't like the combat as much as many seem to, especially melee, but I probably rushed through and didn't spend my skill points in smart ways, or experiment enough with different gear options. I loved the scenery, although the world felt smaller than it needed to, and after Zelda, the traversal, especially climbing, just doesn't cut it for me anymore. I think the game has changed as far as that stuff is concerned, and I'm curious to see what future games look like in that respect. Of all the open-world games I've played, this is the one in which I ignored side content the most, but I appreciate that the game actually kind of respects you for doing that. The story has that big, oh crap, that's what this is moment, and makes you realize that basically none of the other things matter at all. It's one of the more horrifying stories I've ever encountered in video games, both in concept and in the way it's revealed to you, and I can't wait to see where they take it going forward. Also, finally, screw Square Enix. Hitman was the best thing associated with your name last year, by a long shot. Through all the pre-release strife and bad messaging, it turned out to be an amazingly effective episodic business model. It was a game that was lovingly crafted, fun to experiment with, and more than anything, eminently watchable. And yet you killed it. Way to be awful, Square. Bravo. Having just completed Yooka-Laylee, I have to admit I'm left with a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. Here is a fan base who is so happy with the dev team's previous work that they're willing to fund their next vision. For some reason though, playing through the game feels nearly devoid of the passion and the sense of immersion you get from Banjo-Kazooie. Almost constant callbacks to the old days of gaming, fourth wall breaking jokes, and honestly, what is Shovel Knight doing in this game? So confusing. That being said, collecting stuff still feels fun, and the art direction gives you nothing but happy vibes. If anyone is considering playing Yooka-Laylee, my advice is, try to come into it treating Banjo-Kazooie as if it didn't exist, even if the game smacks you in the face with it occasionally. Maybe that way you'll be able to enjoy the game for what it is on its own. I just finished Uncharted 4 for the first time and upped my pledge for this month just because I want my comments on it heard. I've played all 4 Uncharted games now, and I have to say that while I love the narrative and the characters, I've never found any of the games to be fun. I'm in the school of story over gameplay, but there's a minimum threshold of gameplay fun I prefer that I've never felt in Uncharted. Climbing is janky, shooting is awkward, and the cover system is downright unbearable. That said, I never regret my 15 or so hours in each game because Naughty Dog tells such a wonderful story with a cast of characters I truly care about, all of whom are well written and lifelike. Everyone has their own taste, but in this ally's opinion, they have never been more than a 7 out of 10. As far as E3 goes, let's hope for some more of dreams coming true. Hopefully EA doesn't drop the ball again this year, and we hear some awesome news from BioWare. Oh, and Square Enix, Kingdom Hearts 3 information? Maybe? Please? I don't have much to say about this month. I've mostly spent huge amounts of time in Overwatch, mostly. But Abzu, it's awesome. It fulfilled my dream of wanting to swim with a school of fish, and that's all I could have ever asked for. I have never been interested and invested in E3 until I watched the coverage of game trailers 2 years ago. I'm still not fully into it, maybe because I've been a PC gamer all my life, and it seems to me that E3 is focused on the triumvirate of Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. But I'm still looking forward to every bit of EZA coverage. So instead of talking about E3 this month, I want to focus on a 24-year-old game that I thoroughly enjoyed in my youth, and that I replayed this month in its remastered version from last year, Maniac Mansion 2: Day of the Tentacle. As a classic point-and-click adventure, in fact, the last Scum game in which you had to click on verbs to interact with objects, it is a game that is not aged well mechanics-wise. On the other hand, the humor is absolutely absurd and the story itself is a tale to remember. It speaks for itself that after more than a decade after my last playthrough, I could still remember a lot of the riddles and jokes. The remastered version allows you to switch between the updated graphics and the old ones on the fly, similar to the remasters of Monkey Island, which is weirdly satisfying to do. Long story short, if you like Day of the Tentacle in the 90s and need a trip down memory lane, or if you just like adventures, I can highly recommend the remaster. Simply a great game for a boring weekend. I missed out on commenting about this in April, but it still hasn't lost its relevance to me. Hollow Knight is one of the best games this year, period. A big part of that claim probably comes from me playing this game with my older brother and having a lot of fun, especially watching each other struggling with a difficult boss. Nonetheless, it still holds some truth. The controls feel great right at the beginning, and with unlocking more ways to move around later in the game, it improved them even more. Moreover, the boss fights are challenging, the characters are charming, and the music fits the sometimes desolate, sometimes wondrous environments perfectly. The only bigger shortcoming it has, in my opinion, is that it is a bit too vague about its story and lore. But other than that, it's GOATY material. 2017 has been an amazing year for me. Awesome games being released on PS4 that are right up my alley. But this month, I only played one game, and that was The Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky SC on my PS Vita. People might wonder why I would play a game on a handheld that many think is dead. Third one is PC only, that was originally released on PSP. Because it's simply awesome, and you should play it. When I heard Ben is doing a Don't Skip episode on the FC first chapter, my heart skipped. Thank you, Mr. Moore. 2 weeks until our Christmas begins. Always waiting for a miracle, and E3 is the right place for it to happen. E3 prediction: Into Free Dongan starts to play, and the moment you hear "The Wind is Pushing Me," Dragon's Dogma 2 logo appears and the crowd goes nuts, followed by online co-op announcement for it. For the month of May, I ended up playing Farpoint. It was the aim controller that caught my interest. It was pretty neat to hold an object and have something very similar be replicated in the virtual world. It added to the illusion that VR creates. It was also my first VR game where I got to walk around without teleporting from spot to spot. The idea of turning to face a direction and the right analog not doing anything, which is the default option, was great. I left it off my entire playthrough. I found myself turning my whole body when I wanted to go in a certain direction, which just enhanced the experience. I did get my first dose of VR sickness. I ended up walking in place, and it helped a lot. Also, turning on the AC and fan ended up being a good idea. One, because it was getting quite sweaty in that headset, and two, because feeling a breeze when walking through a cave in VR is actually pretty damn awesome. I think if you take out the VR element of Farpoint, you're left with a pretty mediocre game at best. The story could use some work, and the gameplay leaves a bit to be desired. However, I had a blast with it due to the VR element. There were really cool moments in the game. For example, the adrenaline I felt blasting a huge rock spider thingy with a shotgun as it charged at me and landing that final blow right before it trampled me was fantastic. I think the game is a good stepping stone for where household VR is headed and shouldn't be overlooked. I implore people with PSVR to give it a shot, to support the direction that these games can go, to exceed something that feels like a tech demo. I can't wait to have my friends over to give it a go, mainly because it'll be hilarious, and the videos for Facebook or Snapchat will be priceless. Pretty sure VR was created for that purpose. E3 season is upon us, and I'm having writer's block. I know the suggested topic for May was the gaming Christmas, but for some reason, I'm not feeling it yet. I believe once the Bet special is released, my hype will rise, but right now, I'd rather just talk about games. I just got my copy of Darksiders War Mastered Edition for the Wii U today. This will probably be the last game that I'll get for that console. I got Darksiders 2 in the Humble Bundle, and when I heard that the first one would be ported and the price was very accessible, I decided to give it a shot. Now that a third has been announced, I look forward to catch up with this series. Following up in my February comment, I now have played Sin and Punishment Star Successor for the Wii, and man, what a pair of gems those games are. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but almost everything I said about the N64 game applies for the sequel. The only aspect that I didn't think was on par was the music. I loved the N64 game soundtrack, and while the music for the Wii game fulfills its purpose, it doesn't stand out. It just blends. Still, if you have a Wii or Wii U, give those games a chance. Hopefully, we'll get a new one announced at the Nintendo event. Star Ocean Till the End of Time was recently re-released on PS4, and playing through it has made me realize how good Star Ocean used to be. And it also made me realize we never got Star Ocean First Departure and Second Evolution on PS4 here in the West, despite these first two games of the series being highly regarded as the best. Come on, Square Enix, correct the mistakes of Star Ocean 5 and give us these two games in the West. I will fork over so much money for a chance to play Star Ocean 2 again. I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't play video games during this past semester with the understanding that it would possibly be my hardest year of college that I will encounter, as music education is known for having a very hard third year, and I was absolutely pushed to my breaking point many times. With my insane semester over, I'm rewarding myself with finally playing Zelda. As I sit here writing this, I've put in close to 30 hours, and yet I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what there is to behold, and it has made me feel a very strong connection to what I feel a lot while I'm at school. There's just so much to see and do, and learn, that it often feels like it's pointless to try and work at something when you know it's never going to feel like the job is done. But then you stumble across the smallest little detail that warms your heart and gives you a reminder of why you do this in the first place. It's amazing how games can affect us in such a positive way sometimes. I think Nintendo is going to steal the show this year. I really have this feeling that they have a few tricks up their sleeves that they've been saving for E3. I really hope there'll be something for the Switch, Virtual Console at least. The 2DS release is alarming. Nintendo Switch has been coasting on Zelda Breath of the Wild, indie games, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. In its final dying breath, the Wii U gave the Switch a huge parting gift with that launch lineup. Nintendo is yet to release games made solely for the Switch. We are heading into E3 with very little idea of what Nintendo has been cooking since it announced the NX in 2015. This has me extremely excited. I'm also hoping to see a lot of Wii U ports thrown into the mix. Wii U had a powerhouse of amazing first-party games that most Switch owners missed out on. Throw in a Virtual Console, and you have the ultimate portable gaming system with a huge lineup of games in a fast amount of time. I have not been this hyped for E3 in a long time. Bring it this year, Nintendo. Breath of the Wild works very well in my Wii U, so at the moment, there's nothing tempting me to jump ship to the Switch. Should Nintendo announce a new original 2D Metroid for the system, however, I would be strongly tempted. Come on, Nintendo. Make me a game I can't refuse. I'll just keep two predictions. One, that Blueprint is porting Infamous 1 and 2, cause yes. And then, my second prediction is that Sucker Punch is working on another superhero game. Judging by how well they did with Fetch and First Light, I would love to see a Flash game. And, as a sneaky hope, I'd like to see if 2K hands us another BioShock game, even without Ken Levine at the wheel. If not BioShock, I can't imagine we don't see Borderlands 3. Please be excited. I'm usually not one to make E3 predictions, so I'll save that for the allies and others to make. For me, it's all about soaking up the atmosphere surrounding E3. I love all the hype, and I just can't wait for it to get here. But, if you squeezed a prediction out of me, it'd be this. Sucker Punch shows up to announce their new IP, a first-person action-heavy powers-based RPG a la Deus Ex, but set in current day. E3 prediction. Hope we get to see Sucker Punch's new game at Sony's presser. My brain says it'll not be the Infamous universe. My heart wants it to be Infamous with Cole again somehow. Whatever it is, it'll be centered on a third-person hero with really cool powers. Also cannot wait to see the new Wolfenstein, as the first one caught me totally off guard. Can't wait to see what Machine Games comes up with. Finally, hopefully, we'll get to see what Hitman Season 2 consists of. I don't think we'll see near as much of a push on virtual reality this year, but with the launch of Scorpio incoming and Microsoft needing to step up in the VR space, we should certainly see something from them in terms of that wondrous middle ground, augmented reality. I know Kyle says to never cringe, but I can't help it. I love a good cringe, and there is often no shortage of great cringe material at E3. Sure, the reveal of Resident Evil 7 last year was amazing, but nothing was more entertaining than celebrities trying their hardest to pretend to be excited to play Battlefield 1 while coughing up smoke from a recreational drug that they had obviously just inhaled off camera. Sony's E3 2016 press conference was pure class, and I appreciate it. But it won't be E3 without the pandering, the speakers that really overstay their welcome, the forced humor, the showboating of exclusive early access to DLC, and the celebrity guests that have no reason being there. Bring on the cringe. I will be watching live, face-palming along with the allies. People often discuss their hopes, expectations, and fantasies for E3 each year. They talk about all the games, systems, and other announcements they'd like to see appear during the press conferences, as well as which companies, studios, and individuals they expect to see make an appearance. But to all this I say, nonsense. The allure of E3 lies in the surprise of having those expectations defied in every way possible. It's in those silent moments, or drawn-out corporate marketing monologues, in between each new announcement or gameplay reveal, when we're not quite sure what we're about to see. I don't watch E3 to see a few minutes of new Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay. I watch it to see Knack 2 get announced, and subsequently freak out in your Twitch chat. That is E3. Ever since I got my multi-dimensional cable box as a kid, I've enjoyed watching live shows years in advance. After just finishing watching next year's E3, I have to say I was a little bit disappointed. Sure, Final Fantasy XVI was announced as an exclusive for the Xbox Capricorn, and we were all blown away when Masahiro Sakurai teamed up with Adam Henry to release Super Easy Alliance Brothers. But I was expecting more. No Metroid Prime, no Halo 6, and Sony's conference was an astounding flop. And while I'm sure many are happy, I don't really care for Half-Life 2 Episode 2 Part 2, or the Mission 51 Phantom Pain DLC. Here's to hoping that E3 2019 will be at least acceptable. I have two favorite moments from last year's E3 that really stand out. Number one, tuning in nearly every day to the EZA Twitch page for live E3-related content. From the live press conference reactions to the live podcasts, to the impressions from the show floor, the Allies managed to deliver the goods and then some. It made being a Patreon backer worth it. Can't wait to see what EZA has in store this E3. Number two, watching the Sony E3 press conference live at a movie theater. I know that Sony did the same thing for their 2015 E3 press conference, but last year was the first time I went to an actual theater to watch a press conference with other groups of people. Even though the trip to the theater was a long one, it was definitely worth it. There was nice swag, and when the conference began with orchestral music that was leading up to the next installment in the God of War franchise, I knew I was in for a treat. It almost felt like I was at the conference itself in a way. If Sony does the theater event again, I'll definitely be attending. As for what I'm looking forward to this upcoming E3, I'm mostly interested in the Scorpio, even though I won't get it, and I want to see what else Nintendo has lined up for the Switch for the rest of the year. I plan on getting the Switch when Super Mario Odyssey comes out, but I really need to know if there will be other titles that will tickle my fancy. But most of all, I just hope this year's E3 turns out to be great. Brilliant games, brilliant people talking about games. Life in 2017 is awesome, with the one-year celebration of Easy Allies creeping up before I knew. My one wish for E3 is watching the Allies' reaction to Sony's press conference. The reaction to that show got me into game trailers and made me join Easy Allies Patreon at 3 a.m. in the morning, Malaysian time. That video is all I ask for. My expectations for E3 are hard for me to grasp. I'm usually quite reserved, and I tend to keep my hype level kind of low. Yet when I look back at E3 last year and how it made me feel, I can't help but feel the stirring of excitement in my stomach. The hype I feel now is largely because I don't know what will show. There are all forms of speculation to do before large events like this, but I feel like I appreciate them more when I let myself be swept away by the show. Here's to hoping for something legendary I didn't know I wanted. In the community comments video for March, another ally, Shadow Marba, said something interesting about the EZA ideology of love and respect. And while I generally agree with the sentiment, there are a few things I would like to point out. First of all, I feel it is a little misguided to see it as an ideology and subscribe to it without exemption. Sentences like, "some sentiments are not in line with our ideology," are wrong for more than just one reason. Besides sounding a little totalitarian, it's a very excluding attitude that makes people afraid to voice their sometimes extremely valuable critique. Furthermore, the idea has been presented that openly criticizing another person or company leads nowhere and only creates a negative atmosphere of narrow-mindedness. I could not disagree more with that statement. Criticizing and being able to take criticism are the fundamental mechanics by which we become better human beings. I think it is all in our interest that this community does not become a safe space for some opinions, while others are censored or bullied. Love and respect should never be a filter for opinions, but for words instead. It's most effective when it dictates how you say something and not what you say. Hey allies, it's my first time throwing up a comment. I just want to say thanks for all the great content you guys have been putting out, and I'm excited to see what content we have in store considering all the great games this year has been giving us so far. May is the first time in months I've been able to really start clearing out my backlog, beating Nier Automata, Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, and Yakuza 0, and all I can say is wow. Every one of those games is something really special and absolutely worth your time. Hopefully E3 can give us some announcements as exciting as these games. What a year it has been so far, one of the greats. Still going little by little with mostly Zelda Breath of the Wild and Persona 5. It has been a slow process with life getting in the way and moving into a new place, but I am committed to get these games complete before I buy anything else. My current 2017 backlog consists of Yakuza 0, Gravity Rush 2, and Nioh, and after I get all of these complete, I plan to finally get Nier Automata and Horizon. It might take me all year, but a great problem to have is to have so much gaming goodness. With that said, I do miss the short games, and I was getting a little overwhelmed by playing so many meaty games back to back. For that reason, I decided to take a little break and enjoy some short stuff like Abzu and the excellent Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, while doing some stuff out of gaming like building my very first Gundam model while watching the Easy Allies Gundam building streams. After this little vacation last week and getting those complete, it's time to get back to the big boys. Thank you to the Allies for making E3 2016 a hyped time. I am so excited to see your jolly reactions to E3 2017. I'm just curious to see what B-roll will be picked for this comment.